Growing up in Benin, West Africa was all I ever knew until my father died when I was 8 years old, leaving behind a widow, my mom, and four young children, myself included. So my mother raised all of us as a single mom, and she never remarried. And she also moved us all here to America to give us a better life. So I really understand the plight of the widow and the orphan. I felt like an orphan for much of my childhood and even my young adulthood because I didn't have a father. And as I grew up, the absence of my father became more felt, like through high school and all the things you go through as a teenager, homecoming and prom and all the things I was involved in. And my mom did the best that she could. And I am so incredibly grateful for the life that she built for us. She did the best that she could with what she knew. And I mean, she's just a rock star. And she raised me to be a responsible, educated, outspoken woman who's always grateful and never entitled. That's probably one of the greatest things that my mom taught me is to always be grateful for what I have and to never feel entitled. So she also taught me to work really hard because success doesn't just fall on your lap, right? And guys, at 61 years old, my mom is now graduating from nurse practitioner school. Like, she's crazy. So she really lives what she taught us. So anyway, at a very young age, I somehow had like a really holy anger when I saw kids living on the streets without any food to eat and eating out of garbage cans and just being left on the streets. And I just knew that when I grew up, I would help children get off the streets and be placed in loving and safe homes to be cared for. And I was like, if I'm going to do anything with my life, that's what it's going to be. So fast forward 22 years later, here I am in Omaha, Nebraska as an adoption lawyer with that same vision and passion to help place kids in need of loving homes. And that's why I opened up my adoption law practice. But I also have a passion to care for widows because my mom was a widow and I experienced firsthand the difficulties of her raising four kids on her own, like how she did it. But do you know how she did it, you guys? She did it with God's help. And I met that God, Jesus, about 16 years ago, and he has completely changed my life. I was the girl longing for love from a man and dating guy after guy and literally thirsting for a guy to love me. And I didn't realize at the time that it was a combination of not having a loving father figure in my life and also not knowing who Jesus was. So when I felt the love of God for the first time, I cried and cried. I mean, I still remember that moment. No one was touching me. No one was praying over me. Everyone around me was just worshiping Jesus. And all of a sudden, I felt this warm hug around me, like someone was literally hugging me. And I couldn't stop crying. And I had never felt a love like that before in my life. Now, since that encounter now, here I am 16 years later, and I now know who my father is. I know that I am loved. I know that God really does care for the orphan and the widows. And it really, truly is my testimony. But working as an adoption lawyer, I have talked to so many hopeful adoptive parents they're longing to adopt. But I have also worked with children in foster care who are longing to be adopted. And there is a huge gap between the two groups. Why? I found that most hopeful adoptive parents, they want babies because it's safer than adopting a child in foster care. And I really want to bridge that gap between those two groups by God's grace so that every child who needs a home will have one. Now that you know my story, I want to inspire Christians, the church, those who profess Jesus as their Lord and Savior. I want to challenge you to be a part of the solution to the orphan crisis, not just here in America, because we know that the modern day orphans in America are foster care children, but they're orphans all over the world. So on my channel, you will find ways you can be a part of the solution to the orphan care crisis all around the world, and you'll be inspired to do something. Okay, maybe it's becoming a volunteer, maybe it's sending your money to nonprofit organizations to help care for the orphans and widows, right? Maybe it's fostering, maybe it is adopting, but either way, there is something that you can do. So I want you to join me. Let's join hands together and let's care for the orphan and widow together. I just realized I never told you my name. Hi, I'm Lucrece Bundy. Welcome to my channel.